Want dis ons land, dis ons taal, en sonder soek aan ons gaan stories maar wil lewe in die tuine hooggebou uit sand, die helder see en die goue straat, die landskap wat oor generasies vertel, die harte wat in ritme met die golwe val. Ons land, ons taal.
Goeiemôre, welkom by Kletskompas. Dit is 'n Woensdag, die 20ste November. Saam met my in die ateljee om na die voorblaaie te kyk, Dani Booysen. Môre Dani.
Goeiemôre almal.
Dani, die groot storie in Namibië en op die voorblaaie van die Republikein en die Algemene Zeitung, gister se stemsaak. Vertel ons 'n bietjie meer.
Nou ja, klagtes moet volgens ons kieswet gaan na 'n kiestribunaal of wat dan spesifiek byeenkom om besware oor die verkiesingsproses, uitslae en dis meer te hoor. En Dr. Paroleni Itula en van sy ondersteuners daag nou die gebruik van EVM's uit wat hulle sê eintlik nie heeltemal wettig is nie, maar baie sterk ook kapsie gemaak van die kant van die verweerders. En hulle sê, hy probeer nou, hy's 'n nuweling in die politiek en hy rakel nou ou goed hier op wat eintlik nie regtige kwessie is nie, want hy wil met hierdie einste masjiene wil hy dan nou die verkiesing kom wen ook. En die hof gaan nou maandag eers uitspraak gee. So ek dink die aanduidings is seker ouens sê as die hof sou gesê het ons mag nie EVM's gebruik nie, sou hulle dadelik so gesê het. So die kans is seker, ek dink nie so groot dat ons nou bekommerd moet wees dat Namibiërs nie volgende week gaan stem nie. So, maar dit gaan nogtans interessant wees wat die hof gaan sê en wat die verweerders ook sê, my maggies, hoe kan jy hier ter 11 ure die week voor 'n verkiesing kom en sê jy betwis die proses? Daarvoor het jy mos baie maande en inteendeel selfs jare gehad.
Ja, natuurlik presies oor 'n week. Vandag presies oor 'n week tree Namibiërs by die stem lokaal aan. Baie interessante tydperk wat vir ons voorlê. Ook op Republikeinse voorblad, die groot fietsongeluk.
Nou ja, die storie het baie mense se harte geroer sedert Vrydag toe die tragiese ongeluk gebeur het waarin die gewilde fietsryer Ingrid van Wyk Skols gesterf het. En gister was daar die hofverskyning van 'n man wat hulle toe uiteindelik by sy huis gaan aankeer het. Hy het 'n swart Mercedes Benz gery en hy het gister in die hof verskyn. Hy het nie borg gekry nie, so hy sal formeel vir borgtog moet aansoek doen, maar in ons berig ook vandag mense wat vir Ingrid onthou en vertel wat sy vir hulle beteken het ensovoorts.
Op die voorblad van Namibian Sun, die voortslepende visskandaal, interessante storie wat hulle vandag hier het, waar hulle sê die IJslandiese maatskappy wat betrokke is, wat dan nou die Namibiese vis uitgevoer het en dit verniet by 'n fees in IJsland weggegee het en dit natuurlik terwyl honderde duisende Namibiërs plaaslik honger kry. Ook 'n ontstellende storie op die voorblad, amper 500 mans wat 18 of jonger is wat reeds tussen Januarie en September vanjaar vir verkrachting aangekla is.
Ja, dit bly 'n nasionale krisis en ten minste wys die data daarom ook dat die polisie iets doen in hierdie stryd. Ek dink ons is gou om die polisie te kritiseer, maar natuurlik ook, ons weet statisties relatief min verkrachtings wat eintlik aangemeld word. So mense moet daar altyd bewus wees, dis maar net die oortjies van die seekoei en al hoe ons dit met wortel en tak kan beveg is as mense bereid is om uit te kom, te kla, te praat en dit geld nie net vroue wat oorlewendes is nie, ons praat van oorlewendes eerder as slagoffers, maar dit geld ook vir bure, ander mans in die gemeenskap en maar ja, die prentjie bly inderdaad steeds kommerwekkend.
Ook vandag natuurlik in Republikein, Algemene Zeitung en die Namibian Sun, ons twee maandlikse,
Twee weeklikse.
Dis laat in die jaar. tweeweeklikse Business is 7. Nou, vandag neem ons opnuut die sukkelende konstruksiesektor onder die loep en 'n bietjie goeie nuus of 'n effense lig in die tonnel daar Dani. Verlede week tydens die jaarlikse konstruksie in Daba wat plaasgevind het, wat die Ministerie van Onderwys met 'n voorlegging gekom het. Nou volgens hulle hierdie implementering van die nuwe kurrikulum waarmee hulle besig is in fases, dit verg 'n belegging van so 1.95 miljard. Nou die meeste van hierdie belegging is natuurlik vir infrastruktuur, ekstra klaskamers, ekstra skole ensovoorts. En hoewel 'n gedeelte van die onderwysbegroting deur 'n lening van die Afrika Ontwikkelingsbank gesteun word, waar daar natuurlik voorskrifte is rondom tenderprosedure ensovoorts as dit 'n baie groot tender raak, het die Ministerie van Onderwys gesê die grootste gedeelte van hierdie belegging is beskikbaar vir die plaaslike konstruksiesektor. En fantastiese statistiek wat daar uitgekom het. Weet jy, hulle het meer as 1500 klaskamers nodig. Meer as 1700 toilette, ook koshuise. Hulle kyk na spesiale kinders wat spesiale onderwys nodig het. So, as al die sloerwerk tussen die regering en die privaat sektor en die tenders uitgesorteer word, kan dit 'n wonderlike hupstoot vir die konstruksiesektor.
Jo-Maré gebruik daar die woord as. Nou,
as natuurlik.
Ons gaan, kom ons sê nie die beskende gesegdetjie oor as nie.
Ja.
So, daar's 'n klomp bedrywe wat ons hoop volgende jaar in Namibië 'n bietjie gaan kop optel en ekonomiese herstel teweeg gaan bring. En sekerlik 2 van hulle is konstruksie en veral ook die eiendomsbedryf. Hulle loop eintlik nou saam met mekaar, maar die groot vraag bly, dit gaan daaroor, gaan tenders spoedig toegeken word? Aan wie gaan dit toegeken word? Ouens wat die werk kan doen of ouens wat net die pryse gaan bietjie oppomp?
Ja.
En
die uitskakeling van die middelman natuurlik. 'n groot faktor.
Groot water wat nog in die see moet loop.
Baie groot water, maar kom ons hoop dat dit ten minste so bietjie deursyfer na die konstruksiesektor toe. Dani, ons gaan uitspeel met die video van ons laaste insetsel vir die verkiesingspartye.
Ja, wat politieke partye betref, hierna gaan die Workers Revolutionary Party hulle boodskap vir hierdie verkiesings deel. Ons wens vir jou 'n lekker Woensdag toe.
Totsiens.
Die golwe van ons land, ons taal.
Good day, viewers, and thank you for joining us once again in the NMH studio. And we are very lucky to have with us Miss Amanda Titus from the Workers Revolutionary Party. How are you doing today, Miss Titus?
I'm doing well.
That's good to hear, and thank you once again for making time to come and tell our viewers and the potential voters out there what the Workers Revolutionary Party has to offer in the upcoming election.
Thank you for the invitation.
We can jump straight in, and I can ask you straight away, what is the WRP's major draw card for this election?
Our major draw card actually is our manifesto. It speaks for itself. We believe that a manifesto of a party must be the core. It must not be something that is like a New Year's revolution list that you say you want to do this, and then at the end of the day you don't do it. So our manifesto is not like all the other parties' manifesto. It's why I also brought it into the studio today to talk from it, because we will stand or fall by our manifesto. And then there's just one issue that I want to bring up for our members and our voters, that we are totally against the EVM machines, because it is the intellectual property of the Indian Army, And that takes totally away the sovereignty as a Namibian nation. So that is the reason why we are against the EVM machines.
Thank you for that. Ms. Titus, you obviously know as a party that we're going through a very, very difficult time in Namibia at the moment. Job losses, breadwinners sitting at home. What is the WRP's plans in terms of economic revival, job creation and industrialization?
You see, actually, our party, there's something, a unique character that sets WRP aside from other political parties. We are already in the struggle with the workers. We are not a party that's just looking for members or voters during election time. So after election time, our struggle will continue. We will continue. We're having a sister or organization that falls under WRP that's called Workers Advice Center that works with people that's losing their employment. And today, I think all Namibians saw on the newspaper what happened with Minister Justice Shaki Shangala, and that is what we have been doing for 5 years now. We have been working with the fishermen. We have been working with all sorts of groups that have lost their employment. And these are the things that we are saying. A lot of political parties and viewers and voters, they just want a party to say that create job. Our viewpoint is jobs are there. And it was proven with the headline of the Namibian newspaper. Because if we can take back all this resources, our fishing, mining, resources that have been exploited now for years by the leading government at this moment. At this moment, we have been saying, and that is we've become under attack a lot because the leading government is actually a pimp. They are pimping us out, and they're not even pimping us to the highest bidder. And it has been seen now that it came out, and we've been fighting these battles for 5 years, our organization. For example, our coastline has been unguarded, so it is also open to unlimited exploitation. So to create jobs, it's not a problem. If we go down to the core of the problem, where bribes, laughable bribes, are being accepted, where our resources are being exploited, and the Namibian nation saw it this morning in the paper. So our aim is to organize. We are calling for the working class. And when we speak of working class, it's not just the person who's working, it's the housewife, it's everybody. We are calling the working class to organize themselves, because it's only through an organized working class that unemployment can be revived. Not a one party, not a one man. And if the Namibian nation can get that conscious mind that I, as a Namibian, I am the government, not the president or the parliament you're electing. They are the government, and you are leaving your faith in their hands. If we can have that idea of we are the government and we organize ourselves to stand against these corrupt individuals and make them to book, and we account for our own resources and not allow our resources to be exploited and taken out of the country, we don't have to cry every time of unemployment.
Ms. Titus, just another two very, very critical issues, which is education and the youth. What is the WRP's policy on those two major issues?
You see, the education is it's a very sore subject on the WRP's heart, because what happened, what we have said for years, that the problem the leading government did, they removed the old education system without reviewing it to see what is the positives, what is the negatives. And they just implement without involving, and that is why we are talking of organized. If you talk of organizing the community, that is where you organize, where the community also gives input and say this is not going to be feasible for us as a community. And if you look at Article 20 of the Constitution of Namibia, talks of education, and it says that every person has the right to establish a private school or university. But then that what is practiced in that private school or university must not overshadow what happens in a public school And the public school, the state school must be actually up to standard, and it must give more than what the private school is doing. The same of hospitals. Public hospitals, state hospitals were supposed to be exemplary to the private institutions, which is not happening at the moment. So what we are saying is that the education system, it must be, the community must be involved, and it must be reviewed. I mean, you have 4,000 skilled Namibian youths that graduate, they run for one job, and you are getting other news where skilled Namibian youth sitting with engineering degrees, they must go for cleaning positions. And then companies are asking, you must have 10 years experience after you graduate. So that is why we are sitting with a high rate of unemployed youth that is skilled. And youth that is employed, employed youth, you add value to their life. So we are strongly looking into that. We have to bring back, and we have to look at the education. You know, those years when we were in school, when we used the old education system, in standard 6, I don't know what was standard 6 now, grade what?
Grade 8.
Grade 8, you can still go out and get employment on a grade 8 level. You still, that's where our man came with bricklaying and those things. Today a grade 8 does not know anything. He's just dependent on something else. There must be job must be created for him. So that is the problem, that our education system is in a crisis. And the Namibian people must really, they have to open their eyes and see that there is, at this stage, there's no hope, just desperation. So it's only a working class, a party that knows how to organize a working class that can bring hope back. Not a one-man show or a one party can do that.
Ms. Titus, I'm also sure that a lot of voters out there, before they decide, if they haven't decided yet who they're going to cast their votes for, two of the major issues is land and housing. What is the Workers' Revolutionary Party's stance on those two issues?
On land, Ashley, it is legality must first be restored. When legality is restored, then we can look at there's two conferences that were held of land conferences. It was a total disaster, because both conferences made it clear that no land to the poor. And our independence was fought hard, liberation was fought hard, and basically it was for land. And the Constitution also guarantees us land and housing is our basic need. Every Namibian citizen is entitled to own land. It's in our Constitution. And so what we are saying is legality must first be restored before we can move forward. And then the question of why is this leading regime saying no land to the poor? And then our biggest issue on land is land has been collectively expropriated. It must be collectively restored. So there must be a land inquiry that must be held. You know, we must be very frankly, WRP knows with the EVMs, we are not going to get votes. We are sure of that. So we don't have dreams, but should we get votes and manage to get 1 seat or 2 seats in Parliament, that is going to the basic point we're going to fight on, because there is a lot of these informal settlements were not supposed to be there. And none of these political parties, it's only election time, they are interested in the informal settlements, in the people who lost their lands. We are there from day one. And that is why we are saying we are going to continue after the elections. We are still going to continue and work together with the people. On the issue of housing, in the old colonialism era, they've managed to build our great-grandmothers and grandmothers housing that we call municipal houses those years. And we saw that it is feasible. So what we are saying is that housing can be, the municipality, the council, in cooperation with the communities, the housing can be provided. It's not a pipe dream. We've seen it in the colonialism era. It can be done. Houses was provided in Katatura, Kommersdal, basic need. That is a human's right. We have human rights activists in this country, but nobody, for me, it is unacceptable, and for WRP, that we are still in 2019 We have informal settlements where there's no running water. There is no housing, adequate housing. Our people are living worse than animals. So it is unacceptable, and it is time that really the Namibian nation should create themselves a conscious mind. This is no more, look, this elections is now break or repair. So if people are still going to think it's a joke and play, then whatever happens after these elections, it's on our head.
I hear what you're saying persistently about EVMs and voting, and you're not trusting those machines. But if everything goes well and you do manage to get some seats in the National Assembly, in the newly constituted government next year, how is the Workers' Revolutionary Party going to hold government accountable in terms of making sure that they actually look after the people of Namibia?
We are not going to get seats. That is going to be clear with the EVMs. Look, those EVMs, it's Indian technicians that has programmed them already. We have written many times to ECN, WRP. It's now from 2014. We have been fighting against the EVMs. We have called on the opposition parties to join us. They refused. The ECN refused that our technicians in Namibia must operate the EVM machines. And that is, if you talk of employment creation, that is another employment creation. If we have skilled youth, we have skilled people in Namibia that can operate the EVM machines, and the ECN has refused. So your question is, how are we going to hold them accountable? Through organization, the communities. It has worked. I will go back again, and please, the viewers and our voters must understand, I'm not saying colonial area was the best. It's how democracy works. It's what the leading government, they made a mistake. You take out of previous things and you say positives and negatives, and you run with the positive thing that you see has worked. You copy and paste things, and you don't just copy and paste bad things for the country, also the good things. We saw in the colonial regime, it worked for the Afrikaners, that they had their communities involved in decision making. There was council meetings that was held down on community level, and then it goes to the parliament. So the communities will be involved, and what WRP constantly are forcing for, and what we are being attacked constantly by the legislative as well, that we want private companies, government officials, ministers, judges, we want insurance companies, these companies coming in, because Namibia is a tax haven at the moment. Books must be opened, things audited must be done, things must be investigated, and should a person be found guilty of corruption, which will happen, many will be found guilty. And corruption is not a game that WRP, it's not a game to us. People will be prosecuted, they will be jailed. And from there on, we will move forward together with the community.
Ms. Titus, it hasn't been an easy time for the WRP since the last election. There's been some internal fighting, there's been some disagreements. Just shortly, what has the party learned from those struggles that you've gone through since 2014?
You see, Ashley, it's not internal fighting. I can be very clear because we have the proof. The things we're talking here is not things that we suck out of our thumbs. It is individuals within the leading party that has influenced some of these members. They are no more, and I have to say it for the record, they are no more members of the WRP. And you see, I see you have this from the Hans Fiedel Federation here. In there it is written actually what we've said, that the Speaker of Parliament, Peter Kachivivi, has refused. We recall those two ex-members of WRP from Parliament because they were not in line with the WRP constitution. And the Speaker, Peter Kachivivi, he refused. He and Mr. Schletwein, they forced that those ex-members of WRP must stay in Parliament. So it is not in-house fighting. Those people that is having those issues, they are not part of WRP. They were recalled and they are no more members. And it is just to show you that when these things happened, it's to show you how the leading party are feeling towards WRP. Because the issues that we are addressing now, the issues which Dr. Itula is addressing, is issues that WRP has been addressing now for years. It's not issues we are now just doing because we are a thorn actually in the leading party's flesh, and we are a thorn in the judicial service flesh, because we are bringing up the flight and the problems, the real problems of the Namibian people, and we are fighting against that.
Just a final message for the voters. Why should they go out on the 27th of November and vote for the Workers' Revolutionary Party?
The voters outside, it's our Namibian people. The time has arrived now. It is now the time that you have a conscious mind of what are you going to do, who are you going to place in power. Because it's not a one person, it's not a one party that can take Namibia out of the suffocation. We are suffocating. And it's only people that is organized with an organized program, people that are already part of the struggle, that can move things forward. And what we are calling on is that the working class must treat issues that affect women, youth, men, homosexuals. We don't treat those things separately, those issues. We must treat those issues in one umbrella. And it is really time for the working class. And when we talk of working class, people must understand that we are not talking of the person who's working. It is the housewife, it is the street vendors out there. It is the CEO, the secretary, the receptionist. It is the journalist, it is everybody's included. And it is only through a working program that we can really take Namibia out of this desperate, it is total desperation that is happening here. And it will happen, I can tell you now, I need you to put a date on this date. That 5 years from now when we have election again, people are going to ask the same question. If they're going to vote wrong, they're going to ask the same question: how will we create employment? There's a lot of unemployment, there's economic crisis. It's because you are not voting right. You don't have the conscious mind that you, the voter, the Namibian nation, we all are the government, and we all must be involved in changing things. It's not one person or one party that must do it. All of us must organize ourselves and get together. And today's, I'm going back to that, the Namibian, we have been part of that fights for years now, where we are fighting that unions, fishing quotas, mining industry, our resources are being exploited for laughable bribes. It's things that we know, and it's things that we are fighting already, and we are continuously to fight after this election. So we are not going to just be part of the election and then we are going to die after election. Our struggle will continue after the election.
I really want to thank you for making time to join us, and best of luck for the rest of the campaign. And thank you for clarifying so many things for the viewers from the Workers' Revolutionary Party side, and highly appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ashley. Thank you for the invitation.
Van dis ons land.